Welcome to myhomeswallpapershop.com and our how-to videos. This video will be how to hang wallpaper. One thing about hanging wallpaper is you need the right tools. So here's a list of the tools you'll need for this project. A putty knife, a smoother, a tape measure, a seam roller, scissors, a knife and extra blades, a pencil, a sponge, a rag, a sanding sponge or sandpaper, a level, white primer or a clear primer or sizing. Alright, now that we have a list of the tools we need, the next thing we need to do, and then probably the most important thing, is to check the walls over. You need to check to see if the walls are rough at all. You can take your hand over the wall, and you feel there's a little roughness. What you need to do is take sandpaper or sanding pole, sand it down. Walls need to be completely smooth. Now if you have a bit in the wall, which we do right here, you need to take some joint compound and fill this. I'm going to show you how to do that. Get you some joint compound, all over the home. Make sure you smooth it down as much as you can. Now you need to let that dry. As soon as it dries, you need to lightly sand it. Then after you've completely finished sanding, you need to wipe the walls down completely. Okay, and then the next step after that is we need to put a primer on it or a sizing. Okay, a universal wall covering primer, not just a latex primer, a universal wallpaper primer. And you can pick this up at any hardware store. All right, next thing I want to tell you is if you're doing a dark wallpaper, it's a good idea to take that white primer and have it tinted the background color of the wallpaper. That way if you have any separation at all in the wallpaper, it won't show up because it'll look the same color. There's another thing to think about when it comes to deciding whether I should use a clear sizing or a white primer. Some papers you can see through. If you can, you want to make sure you use a white primer. I'm going to be using a clear sizing because the wallpaper I'm hanging, you cannot see through it. So I'm going to go ahead and size the walls. And sizing the walls or priming the walls is just like painting the walls. It's no different. So you want to just make sure you cut it in the top and bottom. Be careful not to get it on your ceiling or your trim. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that. That's the next step. Now that we've prepped the walls and sized the walls, the next step is to plan the room out. And there's one thing you need to take into consideration, and that is where you're going to end the wallpaper. Because there's always a point where you have to end the wallpaper where it's not going to match up. So you want to make that the least obvious spot. Plan the rooms out for several reasons. One is to see how much wallpaper it's going to take, and two, like I said before, to figure out where it's going to end. So I'm going to figure this wall out real quick so I can know how many strips I need. Strips. It's going to take 13 strips. Now the next step is to measure the wall. So I'm going to do that real quick. Alright, the wall measures 8 foot 6 inches, so I'm going to add 4 inches. So you always add 4 inches to whatever measurement you get, add 4 inches. Alright, next thing we got to decide where we want to start our top. I have decided to start my top here. If you have a pattern that has a big print in it, you don't want to cut off the main part of the print. Okay. This is where I want my top. So now I need to cut it 8 foot 10 inches. 6, my table is 6 foot, so 6, 7, 8 foot 10 inches. Now I need to see what kind of repeat I have, so let's see. We'll see if it's a straight across match. I'm gonna line it up right here, take it straight across. If it matches up, it's a straight across match. All right, it's a straight across match. So now all I have to do is make sure I cut all of them the same. The tops need to be the same. Put that right there, hold it, cut it. And cut it 8'6". 8'10", sorry. 8'6", 7, 8'10". All right, the next step is to paste the wallpaper. And this is not a pre-pasted, it's an unpasted. But it's good to use a clear strippable paste. It's important that you spread it out even. And while you're pasting it, it's a good idea to keep your hand on the paper. It keeps it from moving. You want to make sure you get all your edges. And make sure it's really smooth. Maybe with the edges, you go over the edges, fold the first part that you pasted. Roll it up. You're going to paste the other half of the wallpaper. See, I'm using a roller frame and cover. Almost like you're painting a wall, but you're painting a piece of wallpaper with paste. And like I say, you always want to make sure your edges are smooth. Now you overlap this to the other piece. This is called booking. All right, the reason why you book it is because you need time for it to expand. Because if you hang it too quick, it can cause problems with your seam. You'll get seam separation. Okay, a lot of times, well, all the time, usually when the paper comes, it comes with a label. On the back of that label, it'll say booking time 5 to 10 minutes. This one's 5 minutes, so we need to let it book for 5 minutes. So we can paste up another one while we're letting that one set. All right, now since we let it booked, it's ready to hang. So the first thing you need to do is figure out where you're going to start, which I have. You need to draw a level line with the level, okay? All right. Here's my level line right here. All right, a good idea when you're hanging a wallpaper is to hold this one side away from the wall while you put the paper in place. Line it up on your level line. While you're doing that, you keep this side away from the wall. Line your seam up, or line your wallpaper up on your level line. Top and bottom. Now, you want to take your hand, rub it across. You want to take your smoother. Work it from your level line over. Now you want to open it up. Follow your level line. Smooth it out with your hand first, and then you take the smoother over. I need to cut around. Whenever you're cutting around an outlet, it's best to turn the power off first. cuts. You want to wipe that off, so I like to use a sponge. So take my sponge, wipe it off really good, and dry it off. Do the same with the base. Wipe it off, and then dry it. It's always best that after you put your first piece up, you want to break it, snap your blade off so you have a fresh blade for your next strip. All right, I'm gonna start the next strip. All right, when you start your next strip, this is something that's good to do. Take your sponge, wipe the edge down. This will make it easier for you to slide the paper up and down. Open it up. Hold your left side away from the wall while you line the right side up. Line it up. Work the seam first. Push on the seam. All right, check it over. Now what you want to do is take it from the left to the right. Push it up. Check your seam. Move it up. Open it up. Follow it to the seam first. Follow the seam, follow the seam. Smooth it out with your hand first. And then brush it out. Make your cuts. Up off the top, wipe your seam down, wipe the whole strip down, dry it off. Now what you want you to do is take your seam roller and work the seam. What you want to do is push on the seam. Push on the wallpaper towards the seam a little bit as you roll it. And what you want to do is make sure it's not overlapped at all. That's cake. Like I said, check it. Make sure it's not overlapped. Roll it. Line up the seam. Move it with your hand first, then your finger. Make all the necessary cuts. Wipe everything down. Cut off. Put pressure on the wallpaper towards the seam and roll it. Always film to see if it's overlapped. It's not overlapped. That's good. There you go. It's the same process for every strip. Just take your time. Make sure you're constantly breaking off your blade. Snap off your blade because you constantly want to have a sharp edge. This will make your job a lot easier. All right, next step is a corner. I'm going to show you how to do a corner. First thing you want to do is measure the top. Measure the middle. Measure the bottom. And whatever the furthest measurement is, that's the measurement you want to cut your paper. And I'm going to show you how to cut it on the table. All right, now that we have our measurement, we measured the top, the middle, and the bottom. And I took the furthest measurement, which was 14 3/4. I want to make sure I have the right side. I need to cut on the left side. So I'm going to turn it around, because this is the good edge. So I need to measure from the good edge over, because this is the side when we button up. So 14 3/4. So what I'm going to do is go 14 3/4. Mark the top, 14 3/4. And mark it 14 3/4 at the bottom. Now what you're going to do is draw a level line you just want to barely overlap your pencil mark, and that's where you want to draw a straight line, and do it very lightly. Line it up, barely overlap your mark, draw the line. Okay. Now you take your scissors and you take your time and make a straight cut. You got to make sure you cut this straight. So take your time, don't rush this. This is when you need to take your time. You need to be patient. All right, let's cut. So when I cut it, I made sure the line was on this side that I'm going to button into the corner, or the side I'm going to be overlapping into the corner. I'm going to roll it up. All right, now we're ready to put it in. Now we're ready to hang the strip. Like I always said, you want to line it up with your seam. Keep the other side off the wall until you line your seam up. Line up your seam. Line up your seam. Work it down with your hand first, then brush it. Make sure your seam's not overlap. Wipe it all down good. Dry it off. Put it all down. Work your seam. Ready to put it on the side. Match it up. This would be good too to show you how to cut around the door. Find your edge of the door, find your corner, take your scissors, cut from the bottom and work your way up to the door. Push it down with your hand first. Brush it down. Now make all your necessary cut. And I hope this video helps you to hang your wallpaper. Thanks for watching.